Okay. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome, welcome, everyone. I am so happy to have you here today. Welcome on behalf of It Takes a Village Ministry to our May 2021. Oh my gosh, the months, the days, the weeks are just zipping by. We are already at the almost the end of May. Can you believe it, ladies and gents? In any case, we are welcoming you to our monthly virtual health clinic that we invite everyone from the community to join us as we open up the dialogue for any questions you may have on any aspect of health. Tonight with us, we have Dr. Saima, who is a functional medicine doctor, and she specializes also in homeopathy and also in helping patients with cancer. We also have Dr. David Newman, who is the bone and joints guy. Any crack, snackle, pop that you need to do, he can help you with, as well as more than likely questions that you may have regarding any pains, any discomfort, any issues with bones and joints and things of that nature. We are also waiting to see some of our other doctors come in who are going to include Dr. Henry Ely. And he is like our researcher extraordinary. Anything you want to have researched, he can research it for you. And it is just awesome the amount of information that he's able to provide. And last but not least, we have Dr. Christopher Lang, who is also able to assist us in the area of dentistry. So what we're going to do, our format is that basically you can either type your question into the chat, or you can raise your hand and ask a question in person. And as we said, anyone is welcome to ask any question, and we will throw it to the group, myself included. Oh, I forgot to say who I am. My name is Dr. Michelle Gamble, and I work with chronic illness from a holistic perspective, teaching my clients how to utilize nature's cures to be able to heal whatever their issues are. So without further ado, we open it up. Questions, ladies and gents. Oh, do not tell me all of you came here and none of you has a single question. Oh, come on. You have all these phenomenal people here that are waiting to answer any question that you have so that we can have fun exploring ways of thinking about how to assist you.
I have a question for you.
Yay, go ahead.
My name's Donna Furness, and I'm worried about my adrenals. And I've gone to my normal doctor, and I was telling Sandy today, like, I'm about ready to give up. They don't want to address it with me. And I was just wondering what your thoughts were. I feel like they're crashing, they're sluggish. I'm really not sure what's going on, but every time I take those little tests, it comes up that it's adrenal. So I don't know, on the internet, little tests, I should say.
Which little tests are you referring to?
So when you go online, they'll ask you, are your adrenals giving you an issue? Check these boxes to see if you fit in that category, kind of thing. And they'll give a list of what you might be feeling. And if you click on so many of them, you might fall into that category. Just those little things.
Okay. Well, I'm going to throw it to the panel before I jump in and say anything. Okay. Anyone who wants to jump in? Dr. Saima, Dr. David?
I can just chime in over here. So first of all, I think the question should be rephrased in a different way. So you may have gone and done a quiz, but the point is you're not an adrenal gland. You are, Donna, if I'm not mistaken. So you have a symptom complex that you are complaining about. So the idea is to first, actually, identify, what those symptoms are. And if you're feeling tired, if that's what you're really trying to say, then obviously tiredness can be a reflection of multiple things. Tiredness can be a simple thing like malabsorption, which means if you're not, from the gut perspective, you think about it, that, if you're not absorbing nutrients well, you may be deficient in so many things, and that could give rise to tiredness. Tiredness will also be that you have bug infections and they are consuming all what you're consuming, and nothing is getting to you. Tiredness will also be that your mitochondria are unable to process the different nutrients effectively or able to function effectively, and that will give rise to tiredness too. You could have heavy metals, and they could be affecting your different, metabolic pathways in the body, and that would give rise to tiredness. You could have a thyroid problem, and your thyroid is not functioning appropriately, and the metabolism is slow, and that would give rise to tiredness. You could actually have adrenal glands, of course, in the end, I would say, which are kind of all zapped out. The piggy bank has run out of the reserve to pump out any more stress hormones. And so you feel tired because of that. So the first question is not that I have, because we don't have this written, I have an adrenal problem or I have this problem. The human body doesn't express it that way. And it is ironic that the mainstream medicine has made us chop our body in different organs and think about our diseases from that perspective, when actually it's more important to look at the symptom, because you could be having tiredness at the top, and that could be a reflection of so many other things. So I think the first step is, like any like, a regular good doctor, do a detailed history. And the history doesn't begin from just a few months ago or a few years ago, but from your birth, to connect all the dots, what has been happening since birth in your life, looking at all the emotional aspects, looking at all the environmental aspects, any infections. All those things need to be put into place from the functional medicine perspective, and we need to connect all the dots and then make an intelligent understanding of what is really happening with you. And many times we can actually tell what could be the issue, but that would be the first step to actually go about things. And then, of course, based upon history, then to go towards investigative process to assess your body from different perspectives, and then narrow down where the issues are. And there are very good functional medicine tests which can actually narrow down problems. And again, I would say, just like you're not one organ, adrenal organ, your body's made of heart, lungs, brain, stomach, guts, ovaries, and testes. All different organs are in the body which work together and make it function right. So we need to kind of look at it from that overall approach, that it may not be one thing that may be wrong. There could be actually multiple things that may not be working together, which could be causing you to be having what you're having right now. So your question is not as simple that I have adrenal fatigue, but in fact it may be the wrong question. Your question could be that, why am I tired? Why don't I have energy? And you can appreciate that, there could be so many reasons for that. And the appropriate way to go about things is to start, like they say, the old-fashioned way: history, physical assessment, and then, of course, investigation. And then based upon the investigation, then we look at what's wrong and start implementing diet, lifestyle modifications, and supplementation, and then, correcting the issues. And random supplementation is not equal to correcting a problem. And I've seen so many patients who come to me who have just gone to different nutrition stores and just randomly bought supplements, maybe 19, 20 of them, and they're taking them all these years and they're still feeling awful. Mm-hmm. So I actually discourage random supplementation. And I really think that your money is well spent if you actually do targeted treatment versus just random treatment. Just like you would not want your doctor, when you go to give you random stuff and random advice, you want your doctor to be specific about the advice, be specific. So if you want to be objective and scientific, then the way to go about it is the proper methodology that you correct things and look at them in the proper organized fashion. And that is what my answer would be to you, that look for a good functional medicine doctor in your area and begin your assessment so that you get to the root cause of a problem rather than still be unclear as to what's going on with you.
And so Dr. Saima brings up a really important point, which is that many of the people that we deal with have gone to Dr. Google. And when you go to Dr. Google, you get all paranoid about things because you're like, oh, that must be what my problem is. And this must be what my problem is. And this must be what my problem is. And trust me, you will probably diagnose yourself with everything from cancer to, like you said, adrenal issues. And really and truly, what Dr. Sima is saying, and I see Dr. David shaking his head because we all go through the same process, which is to work with someone who is going to look at you as a whole person and not simply a bag of symptoms. You know, so I know Dr. David and Dr. Sima, just like myself, our our first consultations with people are usually like 1 to 2 hours because we're doing such a deep dive into the story of who you are, which is above and beyond the other diagnostic measures which we use, which are a plethora of different tests, from a functional medicine baseline test with blood chemistry panel to, you know, in your situation, you may want to look into doing a deeper dive with something that we call the Dutch test, which is the dried urine test of complete hormones, which would test your adrenal hormones. It'll test your cortisol, it'll test your DHEA, and it'll also test your pregnenolone. It'll test your sex hormones and all of those things to give a much fuller picture of what is going on. And as Dr. Sima said, it could be that your basic symptom, whether it be of fatigue or brittle nails or whatever it is, it may not be so much based in your adrenals. It may be based in your thyroid. It may be based in your gut. It can be all over the place, you know, and that's why I really encourage you to take a much deeper dive and to establish a relationship with someone who's going to look at you as a whole person. Dr. David, anything you'd like to add?
It's really great to be here with you guys. Thanks, Dr. Michelle, for the invitation. And I think you guys strike a really good chord that the body is very complex and there's so many different bells and whistles and moving parts and organs. And taking a step back and just hearing a nice detailed history of your main symptoms and your main complaints will help anyone who's treating you, if they're caring for you, to really understand you a little bit more so they can make a more professional roadmap and a better understanding of who you are, Donna. And Dr. Google, unfortunately, is very commonly used, but it's around 60 to 80% of the stuff you get from Dr. Google might not be right. So seeking consultation from a professional that cares will, I think, give you better insight into your bodily malfunctions or misfunctions or troubles and challenges. Yes.
And the other part to add to that is really the emotional mental component that, you know, a lot of times many practitioners, even functional medicine practitioners, don't do a deep dive into that particular area because it can be scary, because it's like a whole lot of unknowns and it has nothing to do with a pill in a bottle, but it has to do with you and honoring your journey and your unfolding of who you are. So Donna, you were going to say something?
Yes, I should apologize, first of all. When I was talking about the adrenals, it was kind of a Google thing. I have been to a doctor, I've been to the ER. The outcome of all the tests that they've run was that my sugar was considered pre-diabetic. But other than that, they didn't really have any other answers for me for why I was feeling the way I was feeling. I was down in bed for almost 12 days, could barely move, and I still am struggling to get my energy back. And that was a month ago. So when I asked my doctor, like, what's next? Nothing. They were done with me. They really didn't have an answer.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Donna, that you went through that kind of experience, because
Me too.
Really and truly, for them to just throw you out and just say, oh, it's your sugar, that to me is criminal, because there's so much that can be done. And as you are stating to us right now, that is a significant stressor to the adrenal system. And that is also a very good reason that would relate to your fatigue and all of the other symptomology that you're talking about. So as Dr. Sima said, you know, we really encourage you to reach out to someone. And in the profiles that you get, once you once we send you the link for this recording, you can feel free to reach out to Dr. David, Dr. Sima, or even myself to do a deeper dive into your situation, because really, 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 really and truly, you need to have this addressed, because those fluctuations in blood glucose metabolism can compromise many areas of your health, including your immune system, and of course your adrenal system, but practically every system, is factored into how your body metabolizes and uses blood glucose. So I encourage you to reach out to either one of us or someone else in your community that you're comfortable with, to have that addressed. And no, it is not in your head. It's something very significant, and it can be worked with very easily. If someone takes the time to do that deep dive that Dr. Simon was talking about, to get to know you and your circumstances, and therefore dial it in and be targeted. Because as Dr. Simon says, you can waste a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of effort doing all these different, blase things on the internet. But if you really get the attention that you need, you can get what we call targeted nutrition and targeted support, so that your journey can be a lot less hectic and much more effective. Dr. Sima?
Don, I'd like to say something, that whatever you described is very much in line with your symptoms. See, when you have high sugars and you're saying you're very tired, it basically means you probably are insulin resistant. And the amount of insulin that is required to allow the sugar to enter inside the cell is not working. So the cells are actually starving.
Yeah.
And since they're starving, they're not getting the sugar. And since they don't get any nutrition, so how can they function? So you're probably getting into ketosis. And so it's going the other direction. So your symptoms are very much in line with what they actually did identify. It wasn't like, you needed something else to, and this all can be managed so easily. It's so easy. It's not even difficult. It just requires simple dietary intervention, maybe a few supplementations, and that's it. And you will not need any pharmaceutical medicines. And as a physician, I'm not opposed to using pharmaceutical medicines initially if they help you to some extent to just, get over the hump. There's nothing wrong with that, because when used appropriately and correctly, they actually benefit you. And I'll share with you one of my patients who's in her 30s, and she came to me. She had Hashimoto's thyroiditis. She had diabetes. She was on not on insulin, but on 2 medicines. She was infertile. She was not having a periods, and she was having hemorrhoidal discomfort every day. And within a month of when I, saw her, I implemented dietary interventions for her diabetes, and we gave her homeopathic medicines for her hemorrhoids. And then we did some testing and implemented some, supplementation based upon the test. And guess what? Within a month's time, from having hemorrhoidal discomfort every day, she went down to 22 days of no hemorrhoidal discomfort, only 1 week of some discomfort. Number 2, she lost 10 pounds. Number 3, she actually was running sugars in the 200s all the time, 250, 280. And now, for the first time in her life, her sugar was like 130, 120. She actually was getting hypoglycemic, not even hyperglycemic. I had to actually stop one of her medications so that she would not become hypoglycemic, and because that is more dangerous than hyperglycemia. Because hypoglycemia kills, but hyperglycemia still you have reserved to kind of take care of. And then she actually was having no periods for the last 4 months, and now she started having regular. She actually had a very long period from imagine having, and her main concern was pregnancy. And I realized that, in order for her to get pregnant, the first prerequisite was that she begins to have normal menstruation. And so she knows when she's ovulating. And imagine within a month's time, so many positive changes happen by just a few interventions.
So
the
key here, Donna, is there is lots of options for you. And again, I want to stress for you to jump on this, because again, what Dr. Simon is talking about with insulin resistance is also correlated to cardiovascular disease, which is the #1 killer in our nation. So please do not minimize this. I know, unfortunately, your doctors did, but we want to definitely reach out to you and say, please get some help, because #1, it can easily be remedied. And #2, we are concerned about your entire health. you know, and it can have tremendous repercussions. Okay, Donna?
Thank you so much. I'll definitely get in touch with one of you. I really appreciate you.
Yay.
Thank you.
Awesome, awesome. So is there another question that we can assist someone with? Any question, anything?
Well, hello, how's everybody?
We're doing well. We're doing well. How can we assist you today?
Actually, I was, well, lately everything started, the sinus thing, and I was kind of concerned because, some of the COVID symptoms are related, similar. And so, but then I was getting so many calls. By the way, I'm a pharmacist. I was getting so many calls about the pollen and stuff, and I realized that's what it is. But what I need to know, I retired in 2010. During that time, Benadryl was popular, and chlorpheniramine and all that. And, we knew how to take a little bit more if your symptoms were a little worse. But now with the new modern non-drowsy antihistamines, what is the rule of thumb for doubling up or taking more if, like doing periods like this when the pollen is high?
Okay. Dr. David, would you like to jump in, or Dr. Simon?
I am going to, that which I would say would be nothing more than anecdotal, because I'm not, it's not within my specialty. William, when people have pollen allergies and or allergies from the air, it's usually coming in through your mucosal system, which are your eyes, your nose, or your mouth. So whenever I have like those type of itchy nose and my sinuses start to well up, I like to just wash out my oral, my eye and my nasal mucosa with just regular water, because they're basically these antigens in the air, these little tiny particles that are stimulating your system to become inflamed, meaning they bring in fluid, they make you stuffy, they make you nasally, they make you sneeze. And if you get out these particles from your eyes, your nose, and your mouth once in a while when you start feeling itchy, sometimes it kind of just diminishes the number of particles in your system and can lessen the amount of inflammation. As far as the pharmacological rationale and or what to actually take, I'm going to pass that one on to Dr. Simon, if she has an opinion, because I'm not a huge advocate of using those antihistamines. Whenever I feel itchy and nasally, I wash my nose and my mouth and my eyes out with just fresh water, and I usually feel at least a little bit better.
And I love what you're saying, Dr. David, in terms of some simple interventions. And something that you might want to consider also, William, is what's called a Neti Pot. Are you familiar with a Neti Pot?
Not really, not by that term.
It's a little pot that you can get, Amazon, Walmart, whatever, and you can use a little saline solution, like what Dr. David is talking about, to rinse out the nasal passages, which is actually a very ancient technique, and it's used very much also within the Muslim tradition to cleanse the respiratory tract in terms of the nasal passages and the upper pharyngeal level. And then also, when it comes to medication, William, I'm always hesitant when people start upping their doses, because when you start upping your doses, I think Dr. Simon will agree, there's an underlying issue that has accelerated that isn't being addressed by the pharmaceuticals, because really and truly, the pharmaceuticals are just there to manage symptoms. They're not doing anything to resolve the underlying issues. And so one of the things that I use with a lot of my clients are essential oils. One particular essential oil that I use is called Breathe. And I'm telling you, when you use that, it just opens up the passageways. Also, we use essential oils such as On Guard and Copaiba, because it helps with the inflammatory cascade and it helps with the inflammation that Dr. David was talking about. Also, things like stinging nettle is an herb that can be used. But more importantly, I would also do a deep dive into understanding whether or not there are other imbalances within the immune system, sometimes even within the gut, because those imbalances within the immune system will manifest in different areas, you know? So one of the areas that that imbalance will manifest is in an overreaction to normal environments such as pollen, but it can also manifest as an overreaction to foods, you know, so people who have a lot of food sensitivities, you know, this is the same type of underlying mechanism where your immune system is more responsive than it should be. It's hyperactive. And so we have to do a deep dive into supporting the immune system and finding out why is it hyper accelerated, you know? And then you have things like vitamin C and quercetin, which are also good in terms of antihistamines. Okay, Dr. Sima?
I think you kind of both brushed up on the similar thing that I had in mind, which basically when somebody says allergies to me, by default, I say gut problem. Because I just want to say about 80% of your immune system harbors in the gut. 80% of your hormones come from the gut. 80% of your neurotransmitters come from the gut. So when Hippocrates said death begins in the colon, it does, because I mean, gut is such an important that your lymphoid tissue is completely lined all throughout the gastrointestinal tract. So I would recommend that you don't take the allergies as simple as that, because if untreated, they will only get worse and worse with time. So the best thing is to methodically, again, go to the root cause of why you're having these, rather than just to kind of, take a pill for an ill kind of an approach. Yes, vitamin C can help. Yes, quercetin can help. Yes, rutin can help. But I think you'll be better served by investing your resources into actually finding out what are the underlying, gut issues, what are the underlying sensitivity issues, so that once you remove those, you actually will feel better. You will not have to worry about antihistamines. You will not have to worry about any of those. And imagine going out on any such day without ever having to worry about taking an antihistamine. What freedom that you will have access to, how liberated you'll feel. So I really want you to consider having that. And also, of course, in addition to supplements, there are a lot of homeopathic medicines also that you can use, which can be very effective. And again, homeopathic medicines are designed based upon what your symptoms are. You kind of match the symptoms with what your condition is with the medicine, and you give them accordingly. Like itchy eyes, or watery eyes, burning stuff, or runny nose. There are multiple medicines that can be actually used based upon what your exact symptoms are, and they're really inexpensive. They're like $7-8 a vial when you get from Whole Foods, Sprouts, Fresh Thyme, and you can use them effectively. They're even available on Amazon, I'm sure. So again, do not be. Yes, you can take what Michelle mentioned for relief in the moment, but do take the time and effort to again dive deeper and find out why you have what you have, so that you don't even have in the first place. What an amazing thing it'll be that you don't have any of these at all.
Yeah. So as with everything, as Dr. Simon is saying, and as Dr. Newman is saying, to really do a deep dive, all of us will always tell you that it's important to get to the root cause. So, medications are definitely not addressing any root cause there is. And even when we talk about a lot of different supplements and things of that nature, they're just based on kind of taming the symptom. And we want to encourage you to do a deep dive, because again, as we stated with Donna, your body is telling you that something is off. And when the smoke detector goes off in your house, you don't simply smash it and take out the batteries, right? It's like, okay, I need to do an investigation to find out what's causing the smoke. Where is the fire? So your body is giving you that smoke detector sound. It's going beep, 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 and encouraging you to do a deep dive into what the root causes are. Because as Dr. Sima says, if you don't address those root causes, it's going to be like those whack-a-moles. It's just going to pop up somewhere else, and it could be a lot worse than just having the sniffles. All righty, William? Yay. Okay. Sam, you have a question. Samantha?
Yes, I do. In that same vein, so I have been having issues with allergies, or I had issues with allergies for like 10 years. and it was ongoing daily to the point where I could barely breathe. And I had uncontrollable leakage from my eyes. It was just unbearable. So I started using Neti Pot about 9 months or so ago, every single day, and I have not had an issue since with allergies at all. And my face used to be puffy and just like all of that. I couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
But my question is, because I went to Dr. Google about how to use the Neti Pot, how frequently to use it. So my question is it okay to use it every day, or will I experience some type of brain damage per Dr. Google, possibly?
I think there's nothing wrong with giving yourself a break, because if you are not having any symptoms, who knows what has happened. So it's like you take a medicine for something and you don't keep on taking the medicine forever. You give yourself a break and see what happens. So you must give yourself, a holiday from it to see how resilient your body's become. And if you get back to the same symptoms, then it means that you have again been putting a band-aid on it. Like rather than taking, Allegra or Claritin, you decided to take Neti Pot. So the point is that do we need to take Neti Pot every day? Not really. But if we do have problems, yes, you've needed it. So again, give yourself a holiday and see what happens. There's no other way to
Okay.
find out except by doing it.
And I'd like to take a chapter out of the chiropractic book, which is that a lot of times what we're experiencing is an overwhelm in the system or a blockage in the system where the system is not able to let go of toxicity and obstructions in an effective manner. And this ties back into the gut also, so if you've got a gut chuck full of nuts kind of thing and there's imbalances in the gut, then your body isn't able to detoxify efficiently, and so you may end up with stuffy nose and things of that nature. And then again, because we live in such a toxic world with all kinds of crap in the air, it may be that the Neti Pot helps to just take the tip off of the iceberg in terms of the toxic burden. In terms of the frequency of the Neti Pot, I have not heard of any kind of adverse effect of using the Neti Pot on a daily basis, because like I said, it's part of many Muslim traditions to actually use that as part of the spiritual practices on a daily basis. It's like we brush our teeth, they'll use a Neti Pot daily. One of the things I will suggest to you is making sure that you clean the Neti Pot thoroughly, and even using some type of essential oil, because it's extremely antibacterial, to be able to flush out the Neti Pot to make sure that you're not reintroducing any kind of bacteria into your system.
Actually, one thing is hypertonic saline is something you can definitely use, because there have been studies done in UK during COVID that as you introduce hypertonic saline inside the nasal passages, it turns into bleach, hypochloric acid, which actually kills, bleach kind of kills any kind of stuff out there. So just using simple saline and hypertonic saline in your airways is anti-COVID actually. And a lot of my colleagues, including myself, we have used that, nasal rinses with hypertonic saline with basically, no negative effects, and have worked around patients throughout the pandemic and not contracted anything. I mean, I myself traveled quite a bit actually in airplanes. I had to be flying between Columbus and Houston in an airplane full of people. And by God's grace, I've been fine throughout that process and the time frame. So like I said, you know what? It doesn't have to be anything heavy duty or anything difficult. Just simple salt at home is something that you can use. And I don't think anything wrong with it, using it every day, if that has helped you. But again, like anything else, you would like to know why you have what you have. That's all I would say.
Yeah, definitely do a deeper dive. And the gut is a very good place to start.
And with that, it's advised that you use distilled water, and I don't use distilled water. So is that an issue?
Or purified water. I tend not to use distilled water except in very peculiar cases, because of the fact that distilled water will will draw the minerals from your body that are essential. So unless I'm dealing with someone who has certain specific issues, I do not traverse into the world of distilled water. But you can use it as part of your cleansing, in terms of cleaning out the neti pot with the saline, so yeah.
Would
Okay.
it be unsafe to use the tap water? And the reason I asked is because I did see
I
that.
wouldn't go into the tap water. I would
Okay.
definitely try to use filtered water.
You can boil
Uh-huh.
water. Boiling water kills pretty much all the germs, if that's what your
Okay.
concern is.
Yeah.
But I would actually just use, we have filtration system in our home. And so we actually basically use tap water, which is filtered, and then we basically boil it. And when it cools down a little bit, I basically put salt in it, like a teaspoon of salt and a cup of water. And it definitely does burn, actually, I'll be honest, it burns. But that it'll be temporary. But after that, boy, do your nares open up and you feel like a newborn, actually. So, William, that's for you. I mean, you can actually consider that. I mean, if Sam has had such good luck, that would be at least the first place to begin with, just a simple thing like that, which will save you a lot of pain and agony.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you.
All righty. Okay. Any other questions?
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
My name is Wylena, and I'm excited to be here. This is really cool. I like this. I'm really amazed. I appreciate you all for doing this, all the doctors. Thank you so much for allowing us to be able to have this little open forum with our health issues. Now, I want to say to you guys, Dr. Google has been my friend for quite some time.
I hear you. I hear you.
Just saying now, I love me some Dr. Google. I've literally
Trust me, all of us go to Google. It's just that as we said in the last thing, with a grain of salt, meaning that you have to be able to balance the world. And unfortunately, most people do not take in account everyone is a bio-individual composite, mental, emotional, physical, spiritual. And as much as we want to give technology this acknowledgement, the reality is that technology will never, in my book, compare to a human being who can look at you as a person and not just simply a list of symptoms. And it can be very dangerous when you're simply going by quote unquote Dr. Google, because as Dr. Simon said from the very beginning, something such as fatigue can have a variety of different root causes. And if you're going down the pathway that Dr. Google said, and you're going over to New York, but the answer is really in Florida, and sometimes, it costs you a lot of money going down that particular avenue, and it costs you a lot of time, and you're still not dealing with the root issue, which can blow up in your face and create another problem that you were not expecting because you did not do that deep dive that Dr. Simon, Dr. David, and I are encouraging you to do, to really look at what is the cause and not simply the outward manifestation of symptoms. But yeah, we all love Dr. Google. It's fun. It's fun.
Well, I say that for one because I have been doing a lot of research over so many years period of time, and I do go into Dr. Google, but I go all over the place and I read a lot of different types of information about what I'm concerned about, and then I listen to my body too. So when my body, and I was gonna say in response to the allergies and Mr. William and Sam, I've never used the Neti Pot, but I should have. I really should have, because I feel like I've got the worst allergies on planet freaking Earth. I mean it. I'm sneezing all the time, and right now while we're sitting here, my eyes are itching. And during, of course, the allergy season, I have it really, really bad, and therefore a period of time I was taking Zyrtec, and Zyrtec ran my blood pressure up. Zyrtec knocked all of my little issues out. I didn't have no sneezing or no itchy eyes, but my blood pressure went sky high. So I was like, okay, I got to get off of the Zyrtec because something's not going right here. And so now I haven't really been taking anything. Every once in a while, I might do a Benadryl, but I'm more of a naturalist type person too. I really don't like medication, quote unquote, prescription drugs. I really don't like them. So I try to find a natural remedy of some sort. And I do agree with the gut situation because I noticed that my intestines seem to aggravate me during allergy time as well. There's times where I've noticed that, and I think it's the strangest thing, but I noticed this about myself, and the doctors can let me know if this is something that rings any type of bell with you. I noticed that before, and I'm so, well, we all adults here, so before I have a number two, before I actually get ready to my intestine, I take probiotics. Every single day. I'm constantly introducing probiotics to my body. And sometimes I do kombucha, So I'm trying to work on my intestines on a regular basis. But there's times to where I'll get a sneezing spell shortly before I get ready to have a bowel movement. And I thought it was the strangest thing. And I'm like, now why am I sneezing? And then I'll have a bowel movement. And then the sneezing will actually go away. And so I'm like, wow, my gut has something to do with why I'm going through this up here. And I know that milk, anything that has milk in it, this is, I'm a singer, okay? So I can't do nothing with singing if I drink milk or if I eat anything that has milk in it. I'll get a sinus infection. I'll get to sneezing and everything goes wrong and my whole face hurts. So, and then I get mucus, so much mucus. So I have to stay away from actual cow's milk. I drink almond milk and I drink sometimes coconut milk and oat milk. I just started doing oat milk here not too long ago, but mostly almond milk. Because I just love milk, but I cannot do, and if I eat something that has milk in it, I will know shortly after that, almost not even an hour, not even a half hour, my body just kicks in immediately and I start sneezing.
So what you're saying right there is confirming what Dr. Simon was saying, that you really need to do a deep dive into the gut. And look into quote unquote these food allergies or food sensitivities, because they are signs. Like you said, you're listening to your body. Your body is giving you these clues that it wants you to do that deeper dive into why this is happening. And actually, when we look at Chinese medicine, there's that correlation between the lungs and the respiratory system and the large intestine. So all of the systems are connected. Unfortunately, here in the West, we keep on trying to separate everything into all of these different categories, but that's not the reality of life. And so I commend you for listening to your body, and I encourage you to do that deeper dive into really exploring what is the gut connection and how it relates to the imbalances in the other areas of the immune system. Because as Dr. Simon says, the majority of your immune system is actually in the gut, what we call the gut lymphatic tissue, right? And so you've got the answers. You've got the answers all within you. You have the power to really delve deep into this and to uncover the truth. Dr. Simon?
I just want to say that all the time you spent on Google trying to find out your answers, if you had just gone to any functional medicine doctor, you would have gotten all of them within the hour.
Yeah.
Dairy is known pro-inflammatory. And actually, in the Eastern traditions, which like, Chinese medicine, Unani medicine, which is basically Greek medicine, Hikmat, Ayurvedic medicine, foods actually have properties like they could be wet, they could be dry, they could be mucus producing, they could be cold, it could be hot. And you'll be amazed that we have some expression like as cool as a cucumber, right? So actually, that does have a meaning because there's certain foods when you eat and consume, you do feel hot. Like garlic gives you like a heated feeling. It's also a mucousy feeling. Ginger, we know, is drying. It's dry,
Yes.
and milk is known as mucus producing. It's known. So it's a very appropriate that you are actually avoiding. I would just not say milk, but dairy products in general, so that
Yes.
not only you actually not produce mucus, but you also decrease inflammation in the body. And given the allergies, like I said, I think food sensitivities would be a good place to start from to know what exactly, because who knows, you may be even sensitive to almond milk. You never know, you may have sensitive to almond. So you need to be very clear. You need to be clear on what your sensitivity to foods are.
And
Just to
listen
give
to
you
your
some
body.
suggestion. Pardon?
And yeah, and you know, I know you feel that sense of overwhelm, but I want you to say to throw that away, because really and truly, you have the key when you start to listen to your body, and your body trumps Dr. Google any day.
No,
Okay.
you want clarity. You want clarity.
Yeah.
You want clarity. You don't want ambiguity. And just to give you some support, I mean, if you're having the symptoms of a lot of sneezing, then Nux Vomica, it's a homeopathic medicine that you can use. You can buy from Whole Foods or Sprouts or Fresh Time. It's called Nux Vomica, and you can take 6C, which is available from any regular store, and take it with each sneezing episode, and it'll take care of the sneezing.
Yeah. All righty. And
Okay.
now we have another question that was actually written into me, and I should have started with this, but anyway, we had a question. It's an older gentleman who is about 64 years old, and he has a knee problem where his doctors told him that the cartilage is gone. And so he wants to know if there's any way that he can do something other than what they're telling him, which is knee surgery. So I'm going to throw that to Dr. David. That's right up your wheelhouse.
Yes, it is. And unfortunately, our joints don't age gracefully with us.
There it is.
And they are very delicate. And once they become damaged and worn out, they don't regrow. So as you, Saima and Dr. Michelle, as we discussed, getting a great history and understanding the origin of the knee problem, how the quality of it, how it affects them, how long it's been around. Unfortunately, body habitus, meaning how heavy somebody is, does have an effect on your knees and how they're functioning. And once you get that pain, it's not very fun. And chronic pain is a downer. It takes away from your focus, takes away from your happiness and your productivity at work, and even in your life. So getting rid of that pain is important. And so understanding more about who this person is and what they've been through in their life regarding their knee will help guide them to a pain-free or a less pain and a more functional existence. I'm a huge advocate of going root cause, which would mean, making sure that your muscles are healthy, making sure that your motion across those bones in your knee are still there, making sure your hip is still working nicely and your low back is strong and the muscles around your core, because that can help because they're all connected. So your knee is connected to your hip, which is connected to your low back and your pelvis. So I think that all holds some of the answers into what someone can do when they have knee pain. I'm not a huge advocate of injecting things into the knee because that doesn't always lead to a long-term result of relief. That's maybe a temporary Band-Aid type solution. So I think that alleviation of pain can be had with good old-fashioned ice, some rest, some range of motion exercises, and some stretching, and ultimately strengthening to kind of support your body and your body weight for the activities that you do.
Well, this person is one of my clients, so I know a little bit more of his history. He is a veteran, was on the ships for 35 years. And if you know anything about ships, they're up and down those stairs, metal, that kind of.
Yeah.
He's not overweight. And it's been a problem for over 10 years. And so that's part of the history.
Thank you. So I appreciate that. So, you know, a 10-year-old history of knee pain is certainly not going to feel better tomorrow. So it's more one of those things where if you maybe alter, it could be dietary a little bit. You could take some anti-inflammatory, because it's usually inflammation that gives people pain. It's either mechanical tearing and wearing out of the cartilage or the smooth surface at the end of the bones. And so sometimes diet and or nutritional supplements can diminish your inflammatory response because we feel pain because of inflammation. So that could be one aspect of things he can do. But after 10 years,
can you explain that with the foods for him?
sure, I think that there's some good studies about turmeric being an anti-inflammatory agent, and that's an herb that can be used in supplemental fashion and or from the diet that can get into the system and cause some relief of pain and inflammation. Having a good vitamin supplements can also help with this. There are some nutraceuticals, which are like chondroitin and glucosamine sulfate, which can also be found in some foods, but they're really more of a dietary supplement, which are in some people do help alleviate the feeling of pain. Once again, I'm going to just revert back to just exercise and the right exercise, which would be getting full extension of your knee and getting full motion or flexion of your knee. So maintaining that bending and the flexing, bending and the straightening activities, and also strengthening the muscles around the knee are really not easy necessarily, but very effective at alleviating pain. As a 64-year-old man with a 10-year history of knee pain, there might be that the joints are just worn out and that cartilage, which is usually thick, has gotten thin, instead of being smooth, has become rough. So it might be altering your activity as well. Like if somebody likes to stay active through running or Stairmaster, it might be better to do something like elliptical training or bicycle or swimming as a way to maintain your exercise and your strength without putting too much impact and compressive forces across your knee. So, you know, we also utilize X-ray to kind of see how the joint looks on how the bones look and how the alignment of the joint is. And sometimes an MRI is used too to like look inside the knee, which is much easier than doing surgery, which can also help to see how the quantity of damage and how much swelling there is beneath the surface of the bone. So there's a lot of things that can potentially help us understand exactly what's going on. And then there's also those tools and resources of, you know, staying flexible, staying strong, not doing that impact exercise like Stairmaster and running that can also kind of irritate and cause inflammation in an already damaged knee.
Mm.
I hope that helps.
And,
Yeah, what
Well,
about
that-
walking?
sorry.
Walking is you know, I've done a little research on walking lately, and I think that walking is tremendous when it comes to your heart and lungs, as far as maintaining your heart and lung capacity and its health. And it does increase the blood flow in your extremities, and it does help with your bone health, the bone strength. But when it comes to the surface of the bone, walking takes only about 33% of your knee motion, meaning you don't need a lot of bending. You have to get straight, but you don't need a lot of bending to walk. So it doesn't really get back all that muscle elongation upon flexing completely or straightening and stretching out your hamstring or the muscles in the back of your thigh. The walking is good for some aspects of health, cardiopulmonary, which is heart and lung, and not necessarily motion and strength. So it doesn't build strength and it doesn't get all your range of motion. So walking is a good supplement. It's a good thing to do if you can do it. But if you are to walking on grass or a track is better than asphalt. Walking with good shoes is also important to give you some cushion as you walk. If you walk in like, you know, a hard sole shoe, it doesn't give you as much cushion. If you walk on the asphalt, it doesn't give you as much cushion either. If you walk on a sloped road, it also gives you imbalance when you're walking a lot. So walking is okay. I'm more an advocate of full flexibility, and then the right exercises to strengthen the muscles around your knee without putting too much pressure on the knee joint.
Awesome, awesome. Dr. Sima, you were going to say something?
I was going to add, it's like, I said fish oil is a cure for all bad. So taking, a gram or two of fish oil really makes a huge difference for the joints, not just for the joints, but pretty much, like I said, cure for all the bad. So take that. And of course, I love homeopathy, so homeopathic medicines are amazing. But again, they're specific for specific thing. For example, if you have stiffness, there's a medicine we can use. If it improves with movement, there's something else. But if you don't want to move, there's another different medicine for that. If it's thoracic spine, the medicine, a separate medicine for that. If it's lumbosacral spine, there's a separate medicine for that. So we need to go, and if you want to address the insertion of tendons and cartilage, then there's another medicine for that. So again, we need to kind of, get a little specific in prescribing homeopathic medicine. But once we have the right medicine, boy, I mean, you'll be relieved in no time of the discomfort. And the beauty of homeopathic medicines is that it's not it's actually goes along with the symptoms. So, and it's very beautiful if you think about that, how it's very easy for the common man to be able to figure out what homeopathic medicine would be right for them, because it's like likes cure likes. It matches the exact symptom that you're having, for which the medicine will work.
Yes. Well, everyone, I want to thank you for joining us tonight for our monthly It Takes a Village. The doctors are in. And keep in mind that we have it again next month, the third Wednesday of the month. And guess what, you guys? We are going to be on tour, coming to a city near you. So I encourage you to join us on the tour. And we are going to be linking up with local doctors in various cities along the tour. So if you are anywhere along the tour, be sure to join us. I'm going to put into the chat the information, the link to the tour page, so that you can find out where we're going to be. It's going to be a 25 city tour. We're going to be starting off on the East Coast, and then eventually we're going to be going west towards California, and then also up into the Midland area. So thank you. And remember, you can always click on the link that we're going to have sending out to you with the recording for this. And when you click on the link, you'll be able to go to the page where the doctors are in to learn more about each of the doctors who joined us today. And also, it'll also have the links for you to be able to contact each and every one of us that were part of the panel today. So I thank you, and I wish you the very best. We wish you health and longevity and a pain-free life of vitality.